What do you like about this Rockets team, and what do you dislike about this Rockets team, as well as what to expect out of Rockets Suns coming up right here at Locked On Rockets.
It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is Mission Control, Houston.
Ignition sequence start.
With the second pick in the 2021 NBA Draft, the Houston Rockets select Jalen Green.
T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal.
I'm going to keep working. I'm going to keep getting better every day. I'm going to keep perfecting my craft. And every time I step on that floor, I'm coming.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's up, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Rockets, the best and only daily podcast covering your Houston Rockets. As always, I'm your host, Jae'Sean Gatlin, native Houstonian and partner at Apollo Media. Be sure to follow along on Twitter at JT Gatlin, the show, of course, at Locked On Rockets, as well as at Apollo HOU. We thank you for making Locked On Rockets your first listen of the day. Now, today's episode is brought to you by McDonald's, proudly serving communities since 1965. McDonald's has always been more than just a place to get tasty, affordable food. It's an unofficial community center. A big thank you to our friends at McDonald's for always being there. I'm loving it. Now, we've got a lot of different topics that we're going to tackle in today's show. We're going to hit on the Rockets-Suns game coming up right around the corner, what we like and what we don't like about this team this season, and none other than joining me to do that is going to be the beat writer for the Houston Rockets for The Athletic, one Kelly Iko. What's up, Kelly? How's it going, man?
Hey, man, we finally get this shit on the road, man.
You are fine, bro. Bro, you're 10 seconds into the podcast and you already said shit. Come on, man.
It's good to be here, bro. Thanks for having me, man. This is a blessing, so I appreciate it.
Well, so I guess the cat's out of the bag officially now. It was supposed to be out of the bag last week, but due to some technical difficulties and some frustrations. So Kelly is going to be joining us. We're going to aim for about once a week moving forward. Kelly's going to be with us on the show, breaking down all the ins and the outs with your Houston Rockets. It's going to be really exciting. I'm so happy to be able to have you back on the mic again, Kelly.
Yeah, man, this is a long time coming. You guys know how much I love talking to y'all, and the last, I guess, since COVID and Brody and the beard and everything was going on. So, that's changed now, but I'm glad to get back on the mic and give people what they want.
And hey, I'm telling you right now, we got a little dynamic duo going on right here. This is not like a Batman Robin situation. This is like a Superman Batman situation right here. If I do say so myself. I hope that Ali Khan won't get jealous. He's still welcome on the show whenever he wants. Locked On Rockets film room is not going anywhere. We just, schedules and stuff. It's a little tough to make that happen. But with that, let's get into Kelly. We got this Rockets Suns matchup right around the corner, and honestly, I'm really looking forward to this game. And one of the things that's going to stand out in this game to me is it's really cool to see two like alpha scorers have the chance to kind of go at each other head to head in Devin Booker and Jalen Green. Now they might not necessarily be like spending a whole lot of time checking each other in this game because of the switching schemes and everything defensively, but I'm really looking forward to seeing how those two play and just how Jalen Green kind of responds right at times in this game to Devin Booker and to some of the runs that the Suns are inevitably going to go on. What are you looking forward to in this game?
Speaking of Jalen Green, I'm looking forward to see how he has to maneuver yet another tough defensive assignment. They're going to get Miles Bridges, they're going to get Cam Johnson, a little bit of Jay Crowder. The Suns, as you all know, are a switch-heavy scheme, but they're going to key in on Jalen. He's already seen traps, blitzes, hedges all in his first 6-7 games of his career. And he's had to maneuver through that while also learning how to, make those NBA-level reads, share a backcourt with Kevin Porter Jr., and try to, be competitive in games. So, it's been a journey up and down already in the first 6-7 games, but it's been exciting to see him kind of progress through these games, not only as a scorer, because he's not someone who's going to be a ball-dominant guy all the time. He plays within the flow of the offense, but someone who can turn it on, as you saw last night against the Lakers. He can turn it on, if need be, and get the crowd going. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he goes up against yet another tough Western Conference opponent.
So for the Suns, DeAndre Ayton, questionable. Campaign, questionable. For the Rockets, Daniel House Jr. remains out, and then Daniel Tice remains questionable. Now, maybe we get another Alperen Şengün game with him starting at the 5 spot. One thing, Kelly, on the Jalen Green front, and I don't know if you saw this floating around the Twitter sphere or not, but right, there's been this inclination to want to compare Jalen Green to like Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, those types of like, all-time great two guards. And
Right.
I think what happened, especially after that shot, that insane shot against the Lakers to pull the Rockets within one, we
Right.
started seeing some comparisons of him to Steph Curry. How do you feel about that comp for Jalen Green
To Steph Curry?
to Steph Curry?
Um, it's kind of wild, but I guess when people get into those moments of the game, it's such a beautiful feeling to see people engage with the game and being excited about this Rocket team again, going back to last season's, which was a dreadful thing to experience. But Steph Curry, as we all know, is somebody who can has a lot of gravity about him. He draws opponents towards him. He's able to use his elite shooting ability to get wherever he wants to get to on the floor. Jalen Green is also a good shooter. He might not be the Steph Curry class, but he's a good shooter in his own right. He has gravity. He can drive, and he gets crowds excited. If you go back and watch that fourth quarter, um, where Jalen Green came alive, because remember the first half, he was on the ball a lot, 30.2 usage rate. He was aggressive, looking to make an impact early. Kind of quieted down at the beginning of the second half, but then whenever the team needed him to catch fire, because remember, last 2.5 minutes, I thought the game was over. I thought the Lakers had taken back the momentum. I thought it was going to be, a 10, 12-point victory. But Jalen Green put the team on his back, went turbo nuclear, and had those two crazy shots, and should have had a third, if we're being honest, because he's a gamer. He's someone who can get going, and then it's lights out. But with the comparison, it's kind of early. It's mad early. Just this kid he can't even buy a beer yet, but he's going to be somebody who's going to be a problem for a very long time. Just being around him and being around those close to him, you can tell that he has the it factor, and it's up to the Rockets to kind of extract that and put that on the big stage.
Stephen Silas has spoken at length about the it factor for Jalen Green, talked about it a little bit during training camp, talked about it recently. I think it was before the Mavericks game when he was kind of highlighting some of the similarities between Luka Doncic and some of the other, really generational talents that he's had the privilege of coaching throughout his career. And he shares this common sentiment that they have this competitive gene about them. And it's a competitiveness and it's a confidence in their level of play. And Jalen Green absolutely oozes that, the swagger on the court, all of that, the it factor. And it's so weird that it's not something that can be quantified. But you can see a player and when they have it. And, maybe this is as good a segue as any to get into our likes and our dislikes about this team, because that's definitely something that I think both of us probably like about Jalen Green, is that it factor that he has. So with that, we'll go ahead and move on into that section, because I do want to get to the likes and dislikes about this team. What do you like and dislike about this team? Be sure to drop some comments. Let us know what you like and dislike about this Rockets team. We're going to get there after a quick message from our friends over at rockauto.com. With the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's basically impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts that you need. Why would you want to endure the often pointless and, look, honestly, sometimes intimidating questioning, like, is your car an LX or an EX? And then you have to wait while the person goes behind the counter to order the parts on their computer, and they're only picking the brands that their warehouse happens to carry. You have computers with access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket. Why would you want to spend up to 30, 50, or even 100% more for the exact same parts from a chain store or a car dealership? Again, look, Honda Odyssey fuel pump is $353 from a chain store. It's only $216 from Rock Auto. So if you're a DIY person, if you know how to do stuff yourself for your car, check out rockauto.com. Their catalog is so easy to navigate. You can quickly find the brands and specifications that you need for your car or truck. And when you go to visit Rock Auto, once you find the parts that you need, when you go to hit checkout, when you hit the little shopping cart icon, be sure to write Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box so that they know that we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. Be sure to visit rockauto.com. And another message from our friends over at betonline.ag, because BetOnline is back and better than ever. They have a new web interface for the start of basketball season and more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the basketball and football action this season. Head to their new updated desktop or mobile website and sign up today to receive a 50% welcome bonus on your very first deposit. Just use promo code LOCKEDON. That's LOCKEDON for a 50% welcome bonus. From basketball, football, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. And continuing on here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. We appreciate you making Locked On Rockets your first listen of the day. Continuing our conversation with the Athletic beat writer for your Houston Rockets, Kelly Iko. Now, Kelly, I'm going to let you steer the bus here for a second. You want to talk dislikes first, or you want to talk likes? You want to go positive? You want to go
No,
negative?
let's give the good news first. Let's give the good news first. The team is 1-6, so hey, but let's go good first. The first thing I like about this team is their commitment to playing fast. They talked about this for weeks. Steven Silas said, "Look, these are young guys. They want to use their gifts to the advantage, which is their speed, their athleticism, their ability to attack in the open floor. We've seen that the Rockets are a top 7 team in scoring whenever they get the ball off a turnover and they're able to hit the fast break. Now, what comes with that playing fast? They do lead the league in turnovers. There are going to be a lot of mistakes that this team makes. Live ball turnovers, which Steven Silas hates. Turnovers that are forced because of good defense, which is okay. You expect that. But the crazy mistakes. Sometimes, when you're going too fast, you tend to, try and do too much, which he talked about during those games. And what he wants to do, what the Rockets have talked about doing internally, which is going to be a big factor of their growth. How can they reduce their turnovers over the course of the year? If you can bring it down from what I think it's 20, it was 19 point something. I think 19.6 before last game. They can bring it down to maybe 15.
20.1. We've gone up. I love that.
20.1?
It's up to 20.1 now.
That boy is coughing that ball up. But it's still early, and it's a young team. It's expected. You're going to have mistakes here and there. But one thing I do like is when they do attack, they look electric, and you want to see that from a young team. You expect that, putting their pressure on older, slower teams, and it's good to see.
I've loved the pace at which they've played with this season. They lead the NBA in pace of play right now, and by a slightly comfortable margin, right? They don't have another team close to them. The Lakers are next to them. Rockets lead the league at 104.43. Lakers are right behind them at 103.71. So a slightly comfortable margin for the number one spot in pace. Something that has stood out to me about this team, Kelly, and one of the things that I have to highlight here is their defense, which has been like, if you had told me at the start of the season that this team was actually going to be almost a top 10 rated defense about, 8 games into the season, 7 games into the season, I would have thought you were just straight up lying to me.
Are they 11th right now? Are they 11th?
They are 11th right now. So they have a 105.9 defensive rating. And honestly, the commitment to that side of the basketball, like, even though they do make mistakes at times, even though there are moments where they're having, bad fouls, where they're, having missed reads, there's still some miscommunication at times defensively. Right. The transition defense needs a little bit of work. They're trying. And I think that's so much of what is important on defense at the NBA level, is just buying in and trying your hardest. And I can't talk about the Rockets defense without also highlighting Jae'Sean Tate, who has been absolutely incredible on that side of the basketball, especially in that Lakers game. Again, he spent possessions checking Russ, checking LeBron, checking AD, and finding success on each one of those guys. And there's very few guys in the NBA that can actually literally guard 1 through 5. So I guess I'm throwing out 2 likes here. I like the Rockets defense, but mainly I also like how Jae'Sean Tate is shouldering an immense load of the Rockets defense right now.
And talking about Jae'Sean Tate, I think I talked about this a little bit last season, but was comparing him to some of the established lockdown defenders, the OG Anunobys, the Miles Bridges, the Robert Covingtons. And when you look at their percentiles of how often they're guarding different positions. Jae'Sean Tate, even though the Rockets had a crazy, terrible season, he still matched up pretty well with those established guys. And now you're seeing this season, I think when he's on the floor, the Rockets are defending 11.3 points better, which is I think it's 89th percentile. Last season it was 5.3 points. That's impact, and there's a trust that's being built. You've seen that with Steven Silas because he's somebody that came in, even though he was considered an offensive savant, he was somebody that always preached defense from day one. The way you were going to get into his rotation was defense, and Jae'Sean Tate has shown the ability to not only ask for those assignments, but to be able to handle those as well. And for a second year guy, yeah, he's older. He's 26 years old, but he was playing in Australia. He was playing overseas. He wasn't playing against LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrooks, and he's been able to handle those with aplomb. And for a second year guy, that's incredible to see. So that was a good. You shouldn't have done that because you said 1-on-1, but I'll let you get that. I'll let you get that. That's good. That's good.
All right, well, hit me with another one of your likes then, since I doubled up on you there. My bad. I didn't mean to cheat.
Well, if we're going to give guys praise, let's also give Christian Wood praise. I think he's coming to the season understanding that, look, he was kind of slept on, for a good part of his career. Some of it was his own doing. He didn't show the motor early enough. He didn't show some of the offensive skills, but credit to him. This offseason, he put in the work. He tried to get healthy. He slimmed down a little bit. And now you're seeing this season he's more attentive on the pick and roll. His slips are more within more intent. He's playing harder, playing stronger. You saw Anthony Davis those past 2 games. Remember last season when the whole trolling thing happened with him talking about Anthony Davis and that would happen. But now he's taking it to him. His handle is better. His 3-point shot is looking crisper. His movements are more with more intent. I think he's averaging 20. It's 20 and 10 right now. And if he keeps this up, who knows this guy? Because he's still a guy that also can be developed as well. Like we talk about Jalen Green, Kevin Porter Jr., these other guys, but Christian Wood hasn't reached the ceiling at all. And that's what John Lucas is intent on doing. Like he spends a lot of time with this guy because he knows that he can be great. I know you've seen him in practice, working on the free throws, which is still a problem. He's doing all the free throw drills, but this is somebody that if his timeline moves up, the Rockets move up. Because if you have a bona fide big man, it makes your job much easier as a head coach. So let's give Christian Wood some love.
I'm glad that we have some overlap here because one of my likes that I had written down was specifically just Christian Wood's impact and versatility on offense, because it really feels like he's, last season could have been viewed as maybe a fluke, maybe just, okay, the Rockets they're a revolving door. They're a bad team, worst team in the NBA. Christian Wood's putting up bad numbers on a bad team. But I think we're seeing that this season, we're also seeing, they're still 1-6 right now, sure, but he's replicating the production again. And I think that was a big question mark is, okay, is he going to be able to come in and do it a second time and do it with consistency? And he got off to a little bit of a rough start, but he's really finding his groove. And I think he's been really impactful, especially these last few games, really taking it to opposing teams, finding and picking and choosing his spots. I've got one more like that I want to throw in here, and then we'll get one more from you before we move into our dislikes and start harboring negative bad vibes. But Eric Gordon has looked really healthy this season. He's looked healthy. He is impactful when he's on the floor. I remember looking at some way too early lineup data, just 7 games in. Eric Gordon's presence is definitely felt on the floor with this team. Seeing how Steven Silas has utilized him, both pairing him with Kevin Porter Jr., with Jalen Green, having some moments where he's out there by himself. Eric Gordon is still, I think there's an argument to be made that he's still the best player on this team. Like coming into the season, I think maybe you make the argument it was Christian Wood, but I think as far as just consistency, play on both sides of the basketball, Eric Gordon is really important to this team, and he's going to be important to the further developmental process for Kevin Porter Jr. and Jalen Green, because he's a guy that doesn't need the ball in his hands to be effective, right? He plays great defense. He spaces the floor for those guys to make things easier for them. And he provides that kind of calming presence when he's out there for them. So I just want to shout out Eric Gordon because, again, he looks healthy. He looks like things are good, minus the nausea from the other night. That's random, though. We're not counting that. Physically, he looks good so far.
And Gordon, everyone talked about this summer. Gordon his name was in trade talks Obviously, teams are interested in him. They've been for a while because he's someone that can give you. He's shown you can give you 18 plus, 36% or better shooting. Two-way player, can handle the ball. Some. Any team that wants to win a championship should be looking at a guy like Eric Gordon, thinking we should get their hands on the guy if possible. So it's good to see him healthy. Can he keep that up for a whole season? Yet to be determined. But so far, so good. And look, he's in a weird spot. Like let's be honest. Like he came into this team playing with Hall of Famers, Chris Paul, James Harden, shared the floor with Russell Westbrook. It's different for him. You have to understand the mental side of a player. Everyone talks about the money and the accolades and stuff, but think about how he feels. Going from sitting next to those guys to having to be now thrust into a leadership role. And having to be a mentor to those guys and having to be part of the growing pains of a young team. Eric Gordon is someone that he's never been one to hide his feelings or hide his thoughts or how he feels about the team. And he's at times he said they need to play smarter, they need to play with more intent. But he means well because he's seen this team at its peak before, and he wants them to get back to that level. But it's going to take some time. But it's been good to see him, productive.
All right, hit me with one more like, Kelly, before we move on to our dislikes, and we'll start the negative stuff.
One more like I'll say is their honesty. Look, Rock. There are some teams that come into this league and they talk the talk, they talk a great game, but then they don't back it up. The Rockets they know that they're not going to be good this year. This is not a race to beat the rebuild. This is not a race to maybe even speed it up. They're just trying to learn. They're trying to get better, 1% better every day. Whether that's individual growth, whether it's someone like Jae'Sean Tate improving his 3-point percentage, 2 or 3 points, whether it's Jalen Green, averaging 17 and 5, whether it's Kevin Porter Jr. becoming a point guard, they're looking at a more holistic collective approach. And they understand that there's going to be mistakes, there's going to be bumps in the road. There's going to be times where it looks kind of funky. But there's a commitment from top to bottom of the organization of trying to get better. And when you see a young team going through something like that, in a world where people live in the results now, where they want to see wins now, it's a microwave society. People don't like to sit around and watch losses, quite frankly. But the Rockets don't seem to care about that. They just want to get better as a group every day. So it's good to see that honesty.
Great, absolutely great point to bring up, Kelly. I appreciate you highlighting that one because that's definitely the message that we've been getting from that's definitely the message we've been getting from the organization. So,
right.
All right, with that, we're gonna shift gears here a little bit. Well, yeah, we're gonna hit the dislikes now. We're gonna start getting real negative real quick. We're gonna get there after a quick message from our friends over at McDonald's. This episode of Locked on Rockets is brought to you by McDonald's, proudly serving communities since 1965. McDonald's has always been more than just a place to get tasty, affordable food. It's a place where friends and family can come to reconnect. It's a place where classmates can meet up for a study group, knowing they'll have dependable Wi-Fi and an endless supply of French fries and McFlurries. Look, I can't drive past a McDonald's without thinking about, middle school basketball games. My dad would pick me up, and then after the game, we'd hit up the McDonald's right down the street from my house. I'd get a little 10-piece chicken nugget meal because that's all I would eat when I was a kid because I was super picky. And now that I'm an adult, I actually enjoy like the entire menu, right? Spicy chicken sandwiches. Oh, that's where it's at. If I'm going to have like an actual meal, if I'm craving a burger, give me the Texas home style burger, extra mustard, extra onions, extra pickles, then get a large fry, get a Dr. Pepper to wash it all down with. Cannot go wrong. It's just, I'm craving it right now. I mean, it's so good. I'm getting caught up just thinking about it. So head over to your local McDonald's to refuel and reconnect. A big thank you to our friends at McDonald's for always being there. I'm loving it. And final segment here at Locked on Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball, where we thank you for making Locked on Rockets your first listen of the day. For your second listen, go check out Locked on Fantasy Basketball with host Josh Lloyd. If you care about fantasy basketball at all, you've got to go check out Locked on Fantasy Basketball. Josh Lloyd has you covered. He is the #1 fantasy expert, not in the country because he's not here. He's based in Australia, in the world. All right, go check out Locked on Fantasy Basketball. Now, getting into our dislikes of this Rockets team, Kelly. You want to start us off, or do you want me to start us off?
You go first, because I got a big one.
Oh, you got a big one? Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to go with something just a little bit from like just the X's and O's side of things of what we've been seeing on the floor so far. I dislike the spacing at times offensively for this team. And that's something
Yeah.
that Steven Silas has harped on a little bit. He's not really happy with how the half court offense has looked. And let's be honest, Rockets fans aren't either. The numbers are pretty abysmal, unfortunately, for this Rockets team. Are they still dead last? Okay, they're bottom 3 in the league in offensive efficiency. And I think a big part of that, unfortunately, is the spacing, especially when Daniel Tice is on the floor, has not looked great. And that's why a large section, if not all Rockets fans, have been clamoring for and very excited now
That's a
that
large
Alperen,
section.
yeah, just literally every single Rockets fan everywhere. No, I was trying to be PC about it, man. Come on. It's okay. We're in the dislike section now. We're allowed to get a little
Yeah.
negative. No, but right. And so we saw even in that Lakers game with Şengün starting in place of Daniel Tice, the ball movement is just better. It just things move more freely. They're able to run the offense through Alperen Şengün. He's a willing, unselfish passer, and that's not to say that Daniel Tice isn't that he's a selfish player or something. It's just he doesn't have that same bag that Şengün does when it comes to passing, playmaking, creating for his teammates. And it's led to that 5-man starting unit that the Rockets have largely been playing with to start the season. The offense stagnates a lot with that starting 5. And then when we see those first substitutions come off the bench, usually it's been Eric Gordon, Alperen Şengün around like the 6-7 minute mark of the first quarter.
Right.
They come in, and then suddenly the ball starts flowing. And then the other bench guys come in. We get the DJ Augustines, the David Nwabas, and then suddenly we see a lot more ball movement and player movement around those guys. And so that's my first dislike, is that the ball movement has been a little suspect in that starting 5.
And you even look at that with Tice, and it's not a knock on Tice. It's not his skill set per se. And that's kind of why there was a thought, or I originally thought, that he was going to anchor the second unit when they signed him to that deal. I just thought that if the Rockets want to play free and fast, it kind of makes sense to put in a more athletic player at the wing, to, even if you are sacrificing some height and some defense. This team is not going to be a top 5 defensive unit. This is someone that you want to see them play fast.
They are 11 right now. Come on, Kelly, give them their credit. They're 11
okay.
right now.
I'm saying once it's all said and done, okay, there's a chance. There's a chance that the Rockets could finish the season a top half defensive team, right? You didn't hear it from me, but I'm saying there's a chance. But now, the biggest thing with Tice, I think, he's best at, anchoring a second unit. That's quite frankly what it is. And it's only been 7 games, so maybe that's kind of premature brain speaking. But they just looked much better the past 2 games. They looked faster. They looked freer. They looked more in tune with the game plan. It seems like, I don't think the Rockets' game plan is to take a lot of mid-range shots right now, and it seems like whenever Tyson's on the floor, he tends to take that shot if it's there, whether it's open or not. He takes that shot, and he's not that great of a floor spacer at this point of his career, and that's not knocking him. He's a small ball center. Like, he's supposed to get those bigger, tougher assignments, and he's someone that I think, if used correctly, can actually either help Houston get back in games or to even build leads against second units. So who knows? But yeah, that's a good initial point. The spacing has not been great.
All right, you said you got a big one, so now I'm interested to see what you got. Oh, you ready? You're like ready to get it off your chest. All right, what is this?
Episode 1, I'm already getting my controversial takes off, man. But I don't like the fact that John Wall's not playing. I don't like it. I don't like it. And I'm not the only person that feels that way. I'm not the only person. That's what I'm gonna say. I'm not the only person that feels that way. John Wall, if you want to help these young guys, obviously John Wall does a bunch. If you see him on the bench, he's always talking to Jalen Green. A little birdie told me when Jalen Green had that 30-point game, it was because of John Wall. Like, every time out, he would bring him aside and say, "Do this, don't do this. Don't do it like this, like this." He's a mentor to him. But there's something about being on the floor with you at the same time that just is so much different than just speaking in your ear. And not only Jalen Green, with Kevin Porter Jr. Like, if you imagine you have a lineup with John, Kevin, and Jalen, you can then you can stagger easier. You can have John with Jalen, John with Kevin, Kevin and Jalen. You have options there. The veteran leadership is there on the floor. He can get guys organized and just make your team better. He's still a good player. This whole thing, this whole notion of John shouldn't play to help, it's nonsense to me. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And I'm not the only one that feels that way. I think there are some in that team that would love to have him on the floor with them. Like, it's just an obvious thing. John is a good player. And if you want to trade him, like the Rockets probably do, what better way to showcase that this guy is healthy and can play than by playing him? It's a win-win solution. You're literally losing nothing by playing him in these games. If this season is all about development and getting better for the guys for the future, you have somebody making $94 million that's coming to the games and just sitting down with just play him. I'm pretty sure he was. I'm pretty sure he would play if it came to a situation where they said, "Look, we would love to have you." I'm pretty sure John would play. Why wouldn't he play? He's a competitor. He's an athlete. Those guys don't have that hunger. You saw the one-on-one game with him and Jalen Green at practice.
That was
He looked like he was himself again. That was John at his best, and he was yapping, he was chirping to everybody on the sideline. Like, John is a competitor, and that's good. And you saw Jalen Green; that's his big brother for real. Like, that kind of stuff pushes these young guys and will inspire them to get better because they actually looked up to John when they were growing up, and to be able to share a court with him would be an honor, quite frankly, for them. So I don't like the fact that he's not playing, but.
I mean, hey, well, first off, just you came in swinging. Okay, all right. I was not ready for that one, Eco. Damn. All right. With that though, I have a like not necessarily a counter, but I will agree that I think that John Wall being on the floor would be beneficial for Jalen Green. I'm not exactly sure it would be beneficial for the Kevin Porter Jr. that the Rockets are trying to cultivate, which is Kevin Porter Jr. as the point guard. And I guess that's, you know what? I guess that's where I can come in with my next dislike. I think after, like, it's still early and maybe I shouldn't be this out on the project this early, but I've kind of talked myself into it at this point. I dislike Kevin Porter Jr. as the point guard. I don't think he is a traditional point guard. And I haven't thought that at all. He's running the point guard position, sure, but I think he's a wing scorer who is being plugged into the point guard role. And I think he's maybe being plugged into that role a little bit prematurely because he's shown some flashes and playmaking ability, which is it. I'm not denying that he has moments where he's got the great court vision, where he makes these really, slick passes. He's capable, but I don't necessarily think he's capable to be like a traditional floor general that can settle down an offense, that can steer a team, in the clutch when they need, orchestrating guys, getting guys in their spots to get them a bucket when you desperately need one. That type of mentality. I don't know if it's not Jalen Green, I apologize, Kevin Porter Jr. can be that. So right now I'm out on the Kevin Porter Jr. point guard experiment. I dislike it at this point. So
damn. I mean, in defense of Kevin, I mean, it's only been, if you look at his NBA career, how many games has he played as a point guard? Is it 15?
Like 30. It's well, I mean, if you consider, so if we're thinking last season, and again, that's my thing, is it might be premature, right? But it's me kind of trying to look down the line, and that's what this season is for. So I'm not immediately calling for them to give it up.
Yeah.
I want to see them progress through this season. But I just think I see so many similarities in Jalen's game and Kevin's game that I think they're kind of the same player. And so for one to be playing as the two guard and then one to be playing as the point guard doesn't necessarily make sense. I see them both as like combo guards who have the ability to score at an elite level and also play make for their teammate, especially using their scoring gravity to create for others on the floor. So that's kind of where I'm at on KPJ.
That's fair. I would still give it at least because this is going to be a season-long thing, honestly, because it's hard. That's the hardest. It's like playing the quarterback. It's the hardest, most important position on the floor. And he's someone that has the court vision. He has the power. He has the grace. He can do it. And he has shown flashes of being able to do that. Now it's all about putting that together consistently. It does lead the league in turnovers. But he spoke about not caring about that. He just wants to get better and try and make those reads. And you see him; he's trying his best. He's trying to organize guys on the floor, calling plays, calling sets, trying to control the tempo of the game. And these past two games against the Lakers, he actually looked much better than he has prior. So I'm not out on the project. I think it can work. It just needs more time. It would also help if they get their rotations down more compact and not have these injuries in and out of the lineup and stuff like that with Eric Gordon, Dale House. Those are two key guys that can help with him getting settled and stuff like that. So I will still give him more time. I think you can do it.
Yeah, and we'll dive back and we'll do one more pair of dislikes each. But my final point on this one is I do still think that even if he's not ever necessarily like a traditional
Right.
point guard, I do think that at some point the Rockets can kind of amend that by having other secondary playmakers in the lineup. And I also, that was why I was such a big proponent of starting Jae'Sean Tate, is I felt that his playmaking ability in the starting lineup, his ability to create for
Right.
others, you can kind of have a player like that be more so like the
Right.
offensive hub and allow KPJ and Jalen to play off of that guy, which is also why I'm really excited about Alperen Şengün's future for this team. Because if you can
Yeah.
conceivably think, okay, Şengün is going to be the offensive hub, which we're already seeing, right? They run a lot of the offense through him, a lot of dribble handoff sets, a lot of pick and roll. If he can be that guy and be kind of an additional playmaker on the floor, then maybe it's not the end of the world if KPJ doesn't, amount to being a true blue, full-blown point guard down the line. So with that, hit me with one more dislike, Kelly, because I got one more sitting on my end that I want to drop in.
One more dislike.
Or I can go first. I can go first.
Yeah. Go first. Let me think.
I dislike that KJ Martin got squeezed from the rotation. I don't think that he should have been squeezed. I've echoed this a couple times now, but it's worth bringing up again because he showed out last season. He has all the tools to be a really, really phenomenal 3/4 at the NBA level. He's worked on his shot. He provides some vertical spacing, which this team desperately needs. His ability to create for himself in and around the rim, as well as to receive passes, his screening ability. I can go on and on about the good things that he brings to the table. Yes, he's still young. Maybe there was a bit of reservation by Silas and the coaching staff to play so many young guys all at once, which is why they opted for the veterans, House, Nwaba over him in the rotation. But I think he brings more to the table than, at this point, definitely more than Daniel House does. I still think David Nwaba brings a different level of play to the table, some physicality that's not quite there. And the transition play from David Nwaba is great. That said, I want to see KJ Martin continue to receive minutes even when Daniel House Jr. is healthy again. So that's my dislike, is that it took this long for the rotation to open up for KJ to get some minutes.
And I'll add one to you too, since we're talking about guys that got squeezed. Well, Josh Christopher. Hey, you can make the argument too, and that's why I think at some point in this season, the Rockets are going to realize that you have nothing to lose by playing these guys. Like, people were so happy when the Rockets had on the floor was Kevin, Jalen, Jae'Sean, Kenyon Martin Jr., and Wood. And yeah, I think it was Şengün. People were going crazy because that's what everyone wants to see. They want to see the young guys go out there, just get minutes and go, because they don't give a crap. They just want to play. And Josh Christopher is somebody, I have something come on this, I think, this week, but he's somebody who, his culture and character, even though not playing, is kind of what this rebuild is all about. He's someone who's going to be a hard worker, who's going to be a team first guy, an unselfish guy, the first one up to congratulate guys coming off the floor. And he's not playing. He was in Staples Center, a place that he's always wanted to play in. It means a lot to him, obviously. And even though he wasn't playing, he was still mesmerized by that whole building and just being there with his team, and that's a lot. But he should be playing. I think at some point they're going to realize that, guys like Kenyon Martin Jr., guys like Josh, those guys are going to bring the team energy and athleticism, and they should be on the floor. Josh, whenever he's on the floor, I don't care if it's against third string guys, it makes things happen. He can play. Just give him some minutes. That's what I dislike. But
All right. Well, with that, I mean, I feel like we came out swinging on the dislikes. All right. So with that I've got one more surprise dislike or dislike for you, Kelly.
What you got?
The mixtape jerseys, like or dislike?
Well, those the new ones?
The new ones. How you feel about those? The mesh, the pinstripe with the old school
Yeah,
logo.
I thought people were kind of hyping them up. They're cool. Like it's I don't know. My
Thanks. You
favorite
just said I'm
jersey
a
that
solid
they have.
5. I'm right in the middle. Like just no opinion.
I dislike them. I can say I dislike. I'm not a big fan of blue generally on jerseys like that. That kind of different shade. My favorite Rockets jersey is the one from 2008. I think it was the with the Houston like this, the mustard, the
Oh,
yellow, white, and gold.
the
The one that T
remodeled like
Mac.
ketchup and mustard ones. There we go.
Yeah, I like those ones. Those are sleek, straight to the point. No razzle dazzle, just there. I think this one, the court is cool. I will say the court looks cool, but the jerseys are kind of eh. It's not my cup of tea. But hey, I'm not wearing them, so who cares?
All right, well that's fair. I had to sneak that one in there. All right, Kelly. I think this has been an awesome first episode. I cannot wait to
You're
do more episodes with you, but you got to let everybody know what you got cooking for us over at The Athletic.
golly. What don't I got cooking? I got some stuff coming. I got something on Josh Christopher coming. I got something on the Brotherhood of Kevin Porter Jr. and Jerry Green coming. I got something a big piece on Dan House coming. I've been working on that for like 2 years. What else I have coming up? Just I can't say everything, but hey, just subscribe to the Athletic. If you're not already, we got the best writers in the whole sports land. Forget me. They got elite guys over there and women over there. Just subscribe, it's 50% off right now. Actually, it's $1 a month right now. So go get you a subscription right now. You will not regret it, I promise you. If you do, you come holler at me, we can get that fixed. But please subscribe. It's a great site for great people to read about the sports that they love. So
And we're gonna put a link. We're gonna put a link to Kelly's articles and to
and follow
subscribe
my
in
Instagram.
the info.
Follow
There
my
you go.
Instagram. Look,
Yeah,
that
we're gonna
ad
put
right
you
there.
all down there.
The ad right there is my Instagram. It's the same thing. Let's get my followers up, man. I ain't got nothing on Instagram. I'm trying to, get some
Maybe I need to start.
engagement. Get
Maybe I need to
some
start plugging my
giveaways.
Instagram too, because I mean, you're good on the Twitter stuff. You got over 20K. You're chilling over there. I'm still working on Twitter. I'm gonna keep working on
It's
that
coming
before I
though.
start worrying about my Instagram
Look,
account. Okay.
Jackson. By this time next season, you're gonna have 10K, if not more than that. I
Ooh,
can
all
guarantee
right.
you that.
All right. We're set. I guess we're setting milestones in this episode. All right. Well, with that,
Yeah.
you enjoyed our likes, our dislikes, our little bit of talk about the Phoenix Suns for today's episode, that is going to do it. If you haven't done so, please consider subscribing wherever you listen to your podcasts at.
Sure.
Free and available on every single platform: Apple, Spotify, Google, the brand new Odyssey app. Be sure to check out the brand new YouTube channel. Subscribe there. We're closing in on 3,000 subscribers. It'd be really awesome to be able to say, hey, Locked on Rockets, 3,000 subscribers. So check out the YouTube channel. Hope you enjoyed our conversation with Kelly Iko. He'll be back each and every week moving forward. But for today's show, that's going to do it. As always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And we look forward to having you back right here at Locked on Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball.